There's this advice successful people love to give. Make sacrifices others won't make. And sure, that sounds motivating, but what does it actually mean? Because most people think they're already making sacrifices, working long hours, skipping vacations, saying no to things, and still not getting ahead. So here's what actually separates people who build wealth from people who stay stuck. It's not about sacrifices. It's about avoiding specific traps that look reasonable but quietly destroy your chances. First trap, working only for money. Picture two paths. Path A, you take a boring job that pays well immediately. Your bank account grows, your friends think you're winning, your parents are proud. But over time, your income plateaus. You hit a ceiling, and that's where you stay. Path B, you take a challenging job that pays less. You struggle for a couple years, can't always pay bills, friends think you're falling behind, parents question your choices. But over time, your income potential goes through the roof. What's the difference? Path A prioritizes money now. Path B prioritizes skills and equity. Every self-made millionaire followed Path B, not because they're better at delayed gratification, but because Path A has a built-in ceiling. Path B doesn't. When you work only for money, you're renting your time. When you work for skills, you're buying assets. And those assets, the things you learn, the equity you build, those compound. Money doesn't compound when you're trading hours for dollars. Skills do. But here's the problem most people face. They can't see the ceiling coming. Path A feels like progress early on. You're earning, you're paying bills, you're stable. And stable feels responsible. But stable isn't the same as growing. And by the time you realize you've hit the ceiling, you've already spent years building skills that only work in that specific job. You've become replaceable, not because you're not good, but because you optimized for being paid, not for becoming valuable. Second trap, buying the lifestyle too early. Imagine you're driving a yellow Lamborghini through Dubai. You pull up to an expensive restaurant, order a $500 steak without thinking twice. How does that feel? Successful, right? Here's the truth about most people living that way. They're broke. Paying for cars they can't afford, taking trips on credit cards they'll spend months paying off, ordering meals that leave them with bills they can't handle. It's all performance, because it's easier to look rich on social media than to actually build wealth. And the problem isn't just that they're wasting money. The problem is that seeing this makes you feel behind, like everyone else is living better than you. But 37% of Americans can't afford an unexpected $400 expense. 39% worry they can't pay bills. 60% can't afford to buy a new car. So the everyone you're comparing yourself to, most of them are faking it too. You can't build wealth and live like you're already wealthy at the same time. Depreciating assets, cars, clothes, expensive meals, those drain resources. Appreciating assets, stocks, real estate, businesses, those generate resources. Buy the lifestyle after you've built the wealth, not before. Third trap, doing everything yourself. No one who's made it big did it alone. You might be great at what you do, but you'll never outcompete a group of talented people working together. Take Elon Musk. People act like he's a solo genius, but he was part of the group that launched PayPal. When eBay bought PayPal for $1.5 billion, those people spread across the industry. They started YouTube, Yelp, LinkedIn, SpaceX. They invested in each other's projects, gave advice, opened doors. That's why they call them the PayPal Mafia. Not because Elon was smarter than everyone else, but because they built together. And you don't need to launch billion-dollar companies to use this principle. A lot of older business owners are lost when it comes to tech. They don't know about online tools, website builders, project management software. You do. That's leverage. You can help them modernize and get paid well for it. Not because you're more skilled than they are, but because you understand systems they don't. Fourth trap, too many inputs. Ever feel pulled in a million directions?
Everyone has an opinion on what you should do. Become a doctor, start a business, get a stable job, travel, have kids. All these voices create cognitive overload. Your brain can't process that many options, so it freezes. The solution isn't to listen harder, it's to filter better. Start with where you want to end up, then work backwards, and only listen to inputs that help you get there. Most people take advice from everyone, but most people aren't experts in what you're trying to do, so their advice, no matter how well-intentioned, creates noise. Cut out general opinions, seek expert advice from people who've done what you're trying to do, not from people who have opinions on what you're trying to do. There's a difference. Fifth trap, being ego-driven. Arrogant people won't finish this. They already think they know everything, so why listen? But that's the problem. Arrogance makes you focus on the big picture while missing the small steps that actually matter. You scroll through advice looking for the shortcut, the one trick that solves everything. But there isn't one. Wealth gets built through small actions repeated consistently, and ego makes you think those small actions are beneath you. The more you learn, the more you realize how much you don't know. That's the iceberg principle. What you know is the tip. What you don't know is massive. And arrogance makes you forget the iceberg is even there. So you stop learning, stop listening, stop adapting, and you stagnate. Not because you're not smart, but because you thought being smart meant you didn't need to keep learning. Sixth trap, passing the blame. There's a Chinese proverb. The man who blames others has a long way to go. The man who blames himself is halfway there. The man who blames no one has arrived. You have two tools in front of you, a magnifying glass and a mirror. The magnifying glass lets you focus on other people, the system, your boss, the economy, your circumstances, all the things you can't control. The mirror makes you focus on yourself, your choices, your actions, your responses, the only things you can control. Now look, I get it. When things go wrong, it's easier to blame something else. You failed the test because the teacher was bad. You were late because traffic was bad. You're not ahead financially because the system is rigged. But here's the thing. Those small instances of blame don't stay small. They become a habit, and that habit turns into identity. I'm someone things happen to, not I'm someone who makes things happen. And once that's your identity, you're stuck, because you've handed control to everything except yourself. Seventh trap, staying static. Your comfort zone feels safe. It's familiar, predictable, low risk, but it's also a prison. No gaps, no exits, no room to grow. And according to studies, over half of people don't leave their comfort zone, and 45% worry they'll regret it someday. So they know staying stuck is a problem. But knowing doesn't make the move, because comfort isn't about being happy, it's about avoiding discomfort. And growth only happens outside comfort. So the question isn't whether you should leave your comfort zone. The question is, what's the cost of staying? Because staying feels free, but it's not. Every year you stay costs you the person you could have become, the skills you didn't learn, the risks you didn't take, the opportunities you didn't see because you were too comfortable to look. And that cost compounds, not in dollars, in regret, in the quiet realization that you chose safety over growth, and safety kept you exactly where you were. So here's what actually separates people who build wealth from people who stay stuck. Not sacrifices, awareness. Awareness that working for money has a ceiling. Awareness that lifestyle spending delays wealth. Awareness that isolation limits potential. Awareness that too many inputs create paralysis. Awareness that ego blocks learning. Awareness that blame removes control. Awareness that comfort prevents growth. You don't need to be smarter or more disciplined or luckier. You need to see the traps, because once you see them, you can avoid them. And avoiding them is how you build wealth, not through sacrifice, through recognition.